Big tech regulation has been in focus, with House Democrats saying earlier this week that companies like Facebook and Google, they're monopolies. But in the case of social media, how exactly can posts from users be controlled on the platforms? Joining us right now with his plan ahead of his keynote speech today at the Better Business Bureau's National Conference, Tom Rogers is here, Executive Chairman at Engine Media, former NBC Cable President, also of course, a CNBC contributor. Tom, you've got a pretty unique and novel idea about what you want to do in terms of regulation for these companies. Take it away. What's the view?
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Andrew. Well, the question is, what do you do about social media regulation when there is no good answer? And I thought there are four bad answers. The Zuckerberg answer, which is we don't want to be the arbiters of truth. The not me, he's modified that a little bit in more recent days under pressure. You got the Dorsey view, yes me, which is, the social media platforms ought to be those arbiters, which many people object to because it concentrates even more power in the social media platforms, making huge decisions about what's right, what's wrong. You have the Trump view, which is don't touch me, repeal 230, you better not label or warn anything about what I post. And to some extent, that's becoming the Democratic view also of repealing Section 230, which is what gives a liability shield to the social media platforms. And then you have a Justice Department view, a proposal they've made, which would effectively put government in the business of regulating speech, which is always a bad answer. So my answer
So what's your answer?
Well, my answer was arbiters ought to be the arbiters of truth. And literally, I thought the best independent way to do this was to let everything be aired, but subject social media posts to airing, what I called arbitration independent review. And I lay out a 12-point plan for how to make that practical, because you can't arbitrate everything that's on social media, and you got to be able to arbitrate really quickly, given the news cycles here, to make it practical. I put this out, and I got some very interesting reaction. And the most interesting reaction I got was from Eric Racin, the CEO of BBB National Programs, better known to a lot of people as the Better Business Bureau National Office. That's what it used to be known as. And I learned something really interesting from Eric, and that was that if AT&T doesn't like Verizon's 5G advertising claims or vice versa, you don't hear about those disputes in court. Those are actually taken to the BBB and they're arbitrated. And they have arbitrators who have really fast processes for turnaround, because a lot of digital advertising, it changes very quickly, got to be speedy. And so this is an organization that is turned to by major companies for arbitration of content disputes. Because they're a credible neutral party, they have a lot of experience, 50 years, in putting together dispute resolution frameworks. And they got an army of arbitrators, 700 of them, which they can expand. And so all of a sudden,
Tom, in terms of arbitration, though, you're talking about 700 arbitrators. You might need, I can't even fathom, in the United States alone, you might need 25,000 50,000 arbitrators literally daily, and then you're going to have people appealing these arbitration rulings, and who knows what the politics of the various arbitrators are. Historically, the kinds of things that are being debated in those types of arbitrations are typically very fact-oriented, as opposed to fact, but there's a political spin or this or that. So what do you do about that?
Well, just think of the army you'd need just for Joe's posts. You make a good point. And what I point out in the 12-point plan is you can't possibly try to arbitrate everything. And you have to have a standard as to what gets filtered for purposes of a process like this. And each social media company would need a board that has standards in terms of the number of readers of a post, the amount of distribution a tweet got, how many retweets it got, its newsworthiness. You clearly have to have certain things that filter this down to a practical level. And you have to have a big pool of arbitrators. And like with any arbitration, each side picks one arbitrator. Together, they pick a third, which also has to be done very quickly. But what really surprised me is how there is a business process that most didn't know about, I certainly don't know about, that actually is in place to deal with high-level content disputes. And all of a sudden, there became, in my mind, a real practicality to this, given the fact that there's an organization that has a similar approach to this kind of problem.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.